The movie kicks off with a guy named Ricky, who's on the phone with his friend. He tells him that he's heading to the Alaskan mountains with his uncle Zach and his little sister Jade. His parents are traveling through Europe, and they figured it'd be a good idea to leave the kids with their uncle, mainly so they could learn a thing or two from him. See, Uncle Zach is a paleontologist. He's really into digging up dinosaur bones and exploring fossil sites. While they're driving, Zach pulls out a dinosaur tooth. It's from a species called Gorgosaurus, and he hands it to Ricky. He explains that the Gorgosaurus was massive, about the same size as a T-Rex, but faster. Ricky just laughs and brushes it off, like, why are you still into dinosaurs? They've been extinct forever. All that's left are a few birds flying around. Eventually, they reach the forest and get out of the car. Jade goes with Uncle Zach to explore and look for fossils, while Ricky stays behind, clearly thinking all of this is a waste of time. Then suddenly, Ricky hears a strange voice calling his name. He turns around, totally shocked, to find out it's a bird, and it's talking to him in perfect human language. Ricky freaks out, but the bird assures him that it's friendly and not going to hurt him. It tells him that it overheard him talking about its ancestors, and while it was offended, it's willing to forgive him because he simply doesn't know the truth. The bird tells Ricky to hold the dinosaur tooth, and the moment he touches it, it starts to glow. Then the bird transforms into another bird-like creature from 70 million years ago, back in the late Cretaceous period. The bird introduces himself as Alex, a bug-eating creature from ancient times. He says he's going to tell us the story of his ancestors, especially his best friend, Patchi. Patchi belonged to a herbivorous species called Pachyrhinosaurus. He was different from the others, much smaller and weaker. He always got pushed around and never got his full share of food. One day, Patchi decides to leave the nest and search for food on his own. That's when he runs into a meat-eating dinosaur called a Trudon. The predator grabs him and runs off with him, while Patchi cries out for help. Suddenly, Patchi's father shows up and rescues him. Turns out, the entire herd respects and fears his father. He's massive and has a thunderous roar. After that, Patchi goes wandering through the forest again. He comes across a strange, friendly-looking animal and tries to be friends, but the animal ignores him and walks off. As Patchi follows him, he suddenly finds himself under a huge ankylosaurus, one of the most aggressive dinosaurs around. Patchi freaks out and quickly runs off. He keeps walking until he reaches a beautiful area in the forest filled with rivers, trees, and all kinds of animals. There, he spots a group of small carnivorous dinosaurs. Patchi tries to joke around with them, but they don't find him funny. In fact, they start chasing him, trying to eat him. Luckily, his mother shows up just in time and takes him back to the nest. Back home, Patchi tells his siblings all about his wild adventure in the forest. He wants them to know there's more to life than just staying in the nest. Time passes, and we see Patchi trying to fit in with the rest of the herd, but he keeps failing. One day, he ends up in a fight with his brother and gets defeated in a single blow. Later on, Patchi is playing near the river when he spots a beautiful female dinosaur named Juniper. He instantly falls for her and tries to strike up a conversation. She notices a hole in his frill and asks about it. Patchi tells her he was born with it and has no idea what it's for. Suddenly, Juniper's mother shows up and scolds her for talking to someone from outside their herd. It's against their rules. She pulls her daughter away, leaving Patchi disappointed. From that day on, Patchi keeps going back to the same spot, hoping to see her again, but she never shows up. Eventually, he finds out that her herd migrated south 4 days ago, and it's probably best to forget her. Every winter, the dinosaurs migrate to find food and better living conditions, so chances are he may never see her again. Sometime later, we see Patchi and his herd getting ready to migrate south. This is Patchi's very first migration, and he's super excited. Days pass as they continue their journey. One day, they head into the forest to take shelter. There's a thunderstorm brewing. It doesn't take long before lightning strikes, and a fire breaks out in the forest. Patchi's father smells the smoke and immediately urges the herd to run before the fire reaches them. Patchi, though, doesn't even know what fire means. He's never heard of it before. So Alex quickly explains that fire destroys everything in its path. Without wasting time, they both start running. They try to stick together in groups to avoid getting attacked by predators. But out of nowhere, Patchi and his brother Scowler get separated from the herd. They're terrified and have no idea how to get out. They keep shouting for their dad until he hears them and comes running to the rescue. But something's wrong. Patchi notices that his mom is missing. We learn that she took the rest of the babies and ran out the other side of the forest. So Patchi's father rushes off to find her, leaving Patchi and Scowler alone. While waiting, the two brothers suddenly spot a predator approaching. They take off running and hide under a tree. Out of nowhere, their father reappears and gets into a brutal fight with the predator. Sadly, it's a vicious battle, and their father ends up fatally wounded. The next morning, after making sure the area is safe, Patchi and Scowler come out from hiding. They call out for for the rest of the herd, but no one answers. Scowler tells Patchi they have to move now. If they don't catch up, the herd will leave them behind. He tries to reassure his brother, saying that one day their family will turn up again. So they head out, trying to catch up. Eventually, they reach another herd, and Patchi is shocked to see Juniper there. He runs over to say hi, but she brushes him off and walks away. Scowler sees the whole thing and mocks Patchi for getting ignored. Later, the wind starts blowing harder, and something weird happens. The hole in Patchi's frill starts making this soft, musical sound. Juniper hears it and is amazed. She asks how he does it, and Patchi tells her he can't control it. It just happens when the wind passes through it. Weeks go by as the journey continues. Eventually, they approach a mountain pass that will take them to their final destination. But suddenly, they spot a flying predator in the sky. Then, out of nowhere, a massive Gorgosaurus appears and attacks it, completely devouring it. We find out that this dinosaur is one of the fiercest predators on Earth. It weighs around 3 tons, stretches 26 feet long, has 60 razor-sharp teeth, a powerful bite, and killer senses. The leader of the Gorgosaurs spots Patchi's herd passing by and slowly starts moving his group toward them. Then he attacks. The herd panics and scatters. Patchi grabs Juniper and runs with her, trying to protect her. Eventually, the herd makes it to the river and escapes the Gorgosaurs. But Patchi and Juniper are still shaken. They stop at the river's edge, and suddenly, Juniper slips and falls into the water. She starts screaming and calling out for help. She doesn't know how to swim. Patchi dives in after her, trying to impress her, but then realizes he can't swim either. Now both of them are panicking, yelling for Scowler to help. A few moments later, Juniper manages to grab onto a rock. Patchi reaches her, but right then, Scowler crashes into them, knocking them both back into the river. Later, we see Alex searching for Patchi until he finally finds him washed up and unconscious on the riverbank. Alex rushes over, pecks at him, and manages to wake him up. Then Scowler calls out to them. They need to move fast before predators show up again. Patchi notices that Juniper is struggling to walk. She tells him she hurt her leg and hasn't eaten since yesterday. She's starving and can barely stand. Just then, the ground starts shaking. They look up and see a massive group of herbivorous dinosaurs heading toward them. At first, Patchi panics. He thinks they're in danger, but Juniper reassures him. These are Edmontosaurs. They're harmless plant eaters, just really big and kind of intimidating looking. Feeling safer now, Patchi and Juniper decide to join their herd. But not long after, Juniper becomes exhausted. She can't go on any longer. Patchi stays by her side, but she urges him to keep going and not fall behind. Of course, Patchi refuses. He tells her he's not leaving her. He'll stay until she's strong enough to walk again. A few hours later, Alex comes back, wondering where Patchi went. He finds him sitting beside Juniper. Alex tells them that night has fallen, and they need to move fast before they lose the herd for good. Right then, Juniper gets attacked by a group of crabs, but Patchi jumps in and saves her just in time. But more and more of them keep coming. Suddenly, 2 flying dinosaurs swoop in and start eating the crabs, giving Patchi and the others a chance to escape. Night falls, and they find themselves lost in the forest, with no sounds of the herd around them. It's pitch dark, and as they move through the trees, Patchi accidentally steps on the tail of a sleeping predator. He freezes in place, completely terrified. Juniper quietly tells him to move slowly and not wake it up. He carefully sneaks away, then bolts with the others. But the dinosaur hears them and opens its eyes. Just then, a group of smaller predators appear and attack. Patchi realizes they don't have any teeth, so he bites one of them. The others get scared and run off. That gives Patchi and Juniper a chance to escape while the big predator is still distracted. They keep running until they reach the edge of a cliff. There, they stop for a moment, looking up at the stars and sharing a peaceful night together. A few hours later, they finally find their herd again. Everyone's happy they made it back. But then Patchi gets into an argument with Scowler for abandoning them earlier, but Scowler doesn't really care. Eventually, winter ends, the sky clears up, and the herd begins migrating north again. As time goes on, Patchi grows bigger and stronger. Every winter, he joins his new herd for the long journey, and his friendship with Alex becomes even stronger. The two share a lot of memories during those migrations. Alex tells Patchi that he should finally tell Juniper how he feels. They've been close for years now, and if he waits too long, someone else might take her. But Patchi admits he doesn't have the courage. He's afraid she might reject him. So Alex decides to help out. He goes to Juniper and tells her that Patchi really likes her, but he's too shy to say anything. Juniper is touched by the news, but she doesn't bring it up with Patchi. She's shy too and tries to change the subject. Later, Scowler gets into a fight with the current leader of the herd. The winner of the duel will become the new leader. In the end, Scowler wins and takes over. Patchi goes to congratulate him, calling him by name, but Scowler snaps at him. He says Patchi has no right to speak to him without using his title, because now he's not just any dinosaur. Scowler. He's the leader and deserves full respect. Then, Scowler announces that he's taking Juniper for himself. Unfortunately, Juniper can't say no, because according to the herd's rules, everyone must obey the leader's commands, no matter what. Patchi is heartbroken, not only because he lost Juniper, but because Scowler is just doing it to show off his power. Scowler then leads the herd across a frozen lake, even though it's risky. Patchi warns him it's dangerous, but Scowler ignores him and moves forward anyway. Suddenly, the ice cracks beneath them, and the herd starts falling into the freezing river. It's chaos, but Patchi steps up and calls out, telling everyone to head toward the riverbank. Many of them listen, going against Scowler's orders, and follow Patchi instead. Juniper notices a small, frightened dinosaur who's too scared to move. She gently helps him and walks with him to safety. A few minutes later, Patchi manages to guide everyone to solid ground. Scowler, furious that Patchi took more than half of the herd, demands he give them back immediately. Patchi hears him yelling, but he's too exhausted to argue. Juniper tells him not to let Scowler get to him and just keep moving. But then Scowler provokes him again, accusing Patchi of being a thief and saying he's only doing this out of jealousy. This time, Patchi has had enough. He can't ignore it any longer. That's when Patchi finally tells everyone the truth. He only did all of this to protect the herd. He couldn't stand by and watch them suffer because of Scowler's recklessness. He explains that he doesn't care about being the leader. All he ever wanted was to keep them safe. He even invites Scowler to rejoin them, but Scowler refuses and walks away in the opposite direction. Later, the two brothers cross paths again. Scowler stands in Patchi's way, clearly wanting a fight. Juniper, worried for Patchi, begs him not to take the bait. She knows Scowler is just trying to provoke him, but Scowler doesn't back down. He steps forward, face to face with Patchi. When Patchi asks what he wants, Scowler says he's here to settle the score for taking his herd and for taking Juniper. Patchi calmly says, "Fine, take the herd if you want, but you're not taking Juniper from me again." At that moment, the fight begins. It's intense. Patchi gives it everything he has, but Scowler is bigger and stronger. He easily overpowers Patchi and knocks him to the ground. Then, a tree falls on top of Patchi, pinning him underneath. Juniper tries to rush over to help him, but Scowler blocks her and orders her to return to the herd. She has no choice but to obey. That night, Alex finds Patchi, still stuck and barely conscious. He tries everything he can to wake him up, but Patchi's weak and seems ready to give up. He tells Alex he's done. He can't move, and he doesn't want his friend to see him like this. But Alex refuses to leave. He reminds Patchi that he's his only real friend, and that years ago, Patchi told him he wanted to grow up to be a hero, someone the other dinosaurs would talk about with pride. He reminds him of his father, who gave his life to protect him and his brother. If you're going to go, Alex says, go out like your dad, bravely, protecting someone you love. That sparks something inside Patchi. He digs deep, pushes with everything he's got, and finally breaks free. He realizes the predators around them are smaller than he is, so he roars and charges, scaring them off. Patchi wastes no time. He heads straight for the herd. When he gets there, he starts looking for Juniper and finally finds her. He's just about to tell her how he feels when he notices something strange. The ground trembles. They suddenly realize they're in Gorgosaurus territory. One of the Gorgosaurs leaps out and attacks Scowler, trying to take him down. Patchi rushes in to save his brother, but Scowler tells him to forget it, take the herd and run. Patchi starts to run, but then remembers Alex's words. He turns back around and calls out to the herd. Don't run, he says. We have to stand together. He leads them into battle. What follows is a fierce fight between Patchi and the Gorgosaurus leader. The predator is far stronger, but Patchi is smarter. He uses his head, literally, and sets a trap. He charges forward, and just at the right moment, jams his frill into the soft spot on the predator's head. It's a perfect strike. The Gorgosaurus crashes to the ground, defeated. The other predators, shocked by what just happened, back off and flee. After everything, Scowler finally goes to his brother and apologizes for everything he did. Patchi forgives him, and from that moment on, he becomes the new leader of the herd. Time passes, and we find out that Patchi and Juniper got married, and even had kids together. And even though Patchi never found the rest of his original family, he's happy. He knows he'll get to spend the rest of his life with Juniper, and there's no more bad blood between him and Scowler. Then Alex wraps up the story, telling us that even though Patchi's tale was lost to history, the proof is still out there. The Gorgosaurus tooth, still lying in the exact same spot to this day. Unfortunately, no one really knows what happened to the dinosaurs after the Cretaceous era, but anyone searching for the answer has to keep digging and never stop exploring. And just like that, we jump back to the present day. Ricky meets up with his uncle and little sister again, and now he's buzzing with excitement after hearing Patchi's full story from Alex. His uncle tells him that they just discovered a Gorgosaurus fossil. Ricky pulls the ancient tooth from his pocket and hands it to his sister, who carefully places it in the excavation site. And just like that, it's a perfect match. The three of them celebrate, all smiling wide. And that's where the movie ends.